Here we are again, folks. Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. Let's talk about this man, Noah, in the Bible. And let's talk about him for a few minutes. The Bible said in verse 9, verse 8 of chapter 6 of Genesis, Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Wow. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generation, and Noah walked with God. How did Noah walk with God? I believe that Noah walked with God from the inside, not necessarily the outside. It was not like he took off in the morning from his abode or his house and God got beside him and they walked down through the woods together or out across the plain or anything. It was that Noah walked with God from the inside. And God has many, many entities. Do you remember when God said he was going to look over the earth and see if he could find a righteous man? And as he looked and he didn't see. And he didn't see, and he didn't see, and it repented him. And he decided, he said, well, I think I'll just destroy all mankind. All of a sudden, there's a flicker of light. And he sees the soul of Noah. He sees the conscience of Noah. And he sees that Noah is a man after his own heart. As he said, David was. And God found Noah to be righteous in his eyes. And so therefore God said, well, because of this one man. Now this is a picture of Jesus Christ coming on the cross. The one man, shedding his blood, that you and I may have redemption through him for eternity. Now, because Noah did what God said to do, man was saved for eternity. There are some things here that God said will never pass away. These are eternal things. The Noahic covenant, the covenant that God made with Noah, will never pass away. There will always be a rainbow. I can tell you this. When the new heaven and the new earth become in place, and this heaven and this earth pass away, God will take that rainbow for an eternal thing to the new heaven and the new earth. When you and I are rulers on the new heaven and the new earth with a new generation of people, a total new generation of people. People are going to be eternal. They are going to be forever. All living creatures, he said, will be an eternal mark for the earth when God makes the new heaven perfect and the new earth perfect and puts the animals perfect on that new heaven, that new earth. There will be no carnivores. There were no carnivores when God made this earth and put the animals on it. Animals did not eat each other. They were herbivores. They ate grass. They ate the things of the field. They ate the fruit off from the trees. But they were not carnivores. So they were herbivores. And they became carnivores when sin came on this earth. The Bible said there will be seed time and planting by men for eternity. So what are we going to do in heaven? I don't know exactly what we're going to do in heaven, but I do know this, that when the new heaven and the new earth are made, you and I are promised to be there. You and I are promised to be rulers over cities, over places, over things, and over people. And I don't know what we'll look like. I don't know if we'll be reincarnated in a body and live another life, but would have the intelligence of all of the past. All that we've ever known would still be known to us And therefore, we would be like geniuses in the sense of the word. He said cold will never pass. There is always going to be cold. There's always going to be summer, winter, day, night, and there'll always be generations of natural people. Now, this is a prophecy of the new heaven and the new earth coming, and that will always be. It will always be. And that's the thing. God made a heaven, and He made an earth, and He made it for people to dwell on. And He made those people to worship Him. And the new generation of people that will be on that earth will be to worship God. There will be no sin on that new heaven and that new earth. There will be no sin. Sin will be done away with. Lucifer will have been cast away on this earth. And this very earth will be cast into the lake of fire. And the Bible says never more to be remembered. Never more to be remembered. Wiped out of the minds of you and I. Wiped out of the minds of anybody that is alive. Anybody that has to do with God. Be wiped out of the mind. You remember when God told Noah to go into the ark. He told him several things to do. He told him to take food into the ark for the animals. And He told him to enter into the ark. At that point, God was in the ark. And God said, come in and bring those animals in. And then when God told him to leave the ark, He told him to leave it and take the animals that He had brought in out of the ark. He had told him a thing that you and I need to listen to today. Do not eat meat with the blood in it. Be sure the blood is drained out of the meat, for the life of the flesh is in the blood. And if you eat that blood, you're eating the life of that flesh, and can cause you. I'm almost persuaded that many of the diseases we have today, many of the things, the cancers, the things we have today, are from eating the blood of animals, breaking the rules of God, breaking the law of God. Today we have, chapter 9 showed capital punishment. Capital punishment, chapter 9 of Genesis, shows us that if a man kill a man, his punishment should be taken. Let's read it. Verse 5. And surely your blood of your life will I require at the hand of every beast will I require it, and at the hand of a man, at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. Whosoever sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man. He's saying if another man wantonly or on purpose kills another man, put him in an electric chair, hang him from the gallows, or cut his head off, or do something, but put that man in the grave. The Bible said that a man that takes a man's life, his conscience will be seared, and he will take other men's lives. That's in murder. That's not in war. War is totally, 100% different. A warrior who is on foreign soil takes another man's life. That's totally different. That's in war. That's a justifiable homicide. Justifiable homicide. Unjustifiable homicide is to take a man's life, and then you should go to capital punishment. Multiply, God said, for us 9, 1 through 7, chapter 9, 1 through 7. And God blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth. God had just wiped everything off from the earth but 8 people, and the animals and the bugs and whatever it was that was on the ark. God had just wiped off the earth everything. Noah had the seed of everything with him. and carried the seed of mankind in his own loins, and in his boys' loins carried the seed of mankind. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, upon all that moveth upon the earth, and upon the fish of the sea, and under the hand they are delivered. Under thy hand are they delivered. Listen, if it was not for man having dominion over animals, already the animals would have eaten up mankind, would have used us as food continually, and have eaten up mankind as fast as mankind could multiply. The animals would have eaten us and multiplied, and this earth would be run over with animals. But God put a fear of man in animals. So therefore man is a ruler over animals. I can tell you another thing. God set the boundaries of the ocean. Do you remember when God came down to this earth? When he first came down, there had been a flood. When Lucifer was cast onto this earth, there had been a flood that covered this earth 100% with water. The center of the earth was so hot that it took the total covering of the earth with water to continually cool it and to keep it where it was. And then God changed that system when he moved that water that was over the earth to above the earth. And he said, by the way, I'm setting today a rainy day. It's raining terrible. Well, it's just general steady rainfall out there. Beautiful. Reminds me of when I was a boy. I lived in the state of Maine when I was a boy. This is just thrown in here. And but it rained many days out of the year in Maine. And you'd sat in your room, or sat in the house, or in the barn, or in the shed, and whittle, or carve, or split wood, or saw wood, or do something, or be out in the barn doing hay, feeding the cows, or doing something. But listening to the rain on the roof. And it would be so peaceful and so nice. And so here we have the rain today again. And there'll be a rainbow afterwards, showing that God meant what he said. He said, but flesh with the life thereof, and the blood thereof, thou shalt not eat. Remember, I covered that a few minutes ago. So let's get back into the book here and see where we are. We're talking about Noah. We're talking about him going into the ark. He took all the food in the ark, and then he entered into the ark himself, and God shut the door. And then in chapter 8, 16, and 17, he left the ark. Let's see. Go forth of the ark, thou and thy wife and thy sons' wives with thee. Bring forth with thee every living thing that is with thee, of all flesh, both of fowl and of the cattle, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful, and multiply upon the earth. And Noah went forth, and his sons, and his wives, and his sons' wives with him. Every beast, and his wife, not wives. Every beast, every creeping thing, every fowl, and whatsoever creepeth upon the earth, after their kind. Every single solitary thing was after its own kind. There is no such a thing as evolution of an animal, or a tadpole becoming a frog, becoming a monkey, swinging in a tree. Later on, a person with a PhD. It is not possible. It is not even feasible. It is. You have to deny God to believe in evolution. You have to deny the God of heaven to believe in evolution. Why do you think God all these animals that he had made that he saved in the ark. Why do you think he saved all different kinds? And every single solitary one was after its own kind. The humans were after their kind. The animals were after their kind. Wow. And Noah built an altar unto the Lord. Verse 20. And took of every clean beast and of every clean fowl and offered burnt offering under the altar. Remember, God required Noah to bring 2 of every kind on the earth except the clean. And on the clean, he said, bring 7 of every kind. By the way, I believe the ark was 100% loaded with the unclean. Loaded up. 100% with the unclean. And then God said, you bring 7 of every clean beast in here. And that particular place that Noah had built for those clean animals was there. And the clean food, and the clean stables, and the clean place for the clean animals. And he brought of the clean kind in to replenish the earth with the clean, and to be able to sacrifice. And 1 through 9, 1 through 7, God blessed Noah and his sons, said, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. And that was his job. And then over in verse 11 it said, I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of the flood, neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. And look at this. And God said, he's talking with Noah now, and he says this to him, this is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you. Talking with Noah. And every living creature, now all the creatures of the earth, that is with you for a perpetual generation. I do set my bow in the clouds, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. Between God and the earth, he's made a covenant. And it shall come to pass, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud. Who brings the cloud over the earth? God brings the cloud over the earth. We have a cloud over the part of the earth where I sit today. And the beautiful rain just continually raining. This earth absolutely, positively, 100% needs the moisture. Without the moisture, it would dry up and either be hard clay or desert. And so it's very important. And God gives this moisture that you and I, the natural people of this world, who God put on this world, can grow vegetables, can grow fruit, can grow food, that we may have food to eat. This is one of the blessings of God when he made man. Do you know, first he made air before he made man. And then he made man for the air. He made the air for the man and made the man for the air. God doesn't need air. He lives in a heavenly abode above the heavens. He said, my heaven is so far above the heavens, mankind will never, ever penetrate it. Will never see it. Other than death, you'll never see heaven. And you've got to be saved to see it then. You see, the blessings of God refined, refilled, and filled on a daily basis. He said, if you will keep my words, keep my commandments, I will keep you in perfect peace. Wow. How many people do you know today are in perfect peace? Do you know any? Do you know any people today that have perfect peace? I do. Those who are following God. I am following God. I can live from morning till night in perfect peace. I woke up this morning. I have the radio on. I have a good preacher on. This preacher preached this morning a beautiful, wonderful, excellent, beautiful sermon. Matter of fact, I listened to 2 or 3 of them. Before I even got out of bed, I just laid in and listened to sermon after sermon. Preacher after preacher. Talking about God's Word. They had got in the Word. They are studying the Word. Matter of fact, the 3 preachers I listened to this morning are already in heaven. They have gone to heaven. They have Brother Adrian Rogers. He's in heaven. I listen to him every single day. Sometimes 3 or 4 times. Brother Lester Roloff. I listen to him every day. Sometimes 3 or 4 times. Brother that I listened to, the last one I listened to this morning, slips my mind. Great, great, great preacher. Preaching through the Bible, on the Bible bus. And I listen to him every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times. And I listened to him this morning. How good it was. He's in the Bible. He studies the Bible, studied the Bible. Now he's in heaven with God. Hey, these 3 guys I just mentioned, they are where they belong, in heaven with God. Their body is in the grave, but their soul and their spirit has gone to be with the Father. They are fellowshipping at the table, the great table, where the 24 elders are, where the 12 apostles are, the great gates of pearls around the New Jerusalem. They have already entered in. When the New Jerusalem takes place and comes above this earth, it will not touch this earth. It will come above this earth. And when it does, you and I will be dwellers in that New Jerusalem. You and I will be caught out of here. When Jesus says, come up hither to the saints, we will be gone. You say, when is that going to happen, Brother Peter? I do not know. I know it is going to happen because God says it is. But when it's going to happen, I do not know. I may have to leave here in death. And if I do, that'll be fine. Because I know the second this body lays down, draws its last breath, that this soul and this spirit is going to be in the presence of the Lord God of heaven and His Son, Jesus Christ, at the right hand of the Father, saying, welcome, Son. Welcome. I do hope and pray that He can say, well done, good and faithful servant. Well done, good and faithful servant. Wow. That is the most important thing that could possibly be said to a man. I have in my pocket some tracts. These tracts are to pass out. These are a commission to me from God. I have a shirt on that does not have a pocket, so I have to have my tracts in my pants. But God's commission to me is to witness to every soul. We're going to see some things. Let's look at some things right quick. We got a couple minutes that God said in Genesis. He said, first thing, and He saw, first thing in Genesis. He said to Adam and Eve, He saw what they did. He saw their sin. He saw the goodness. He repented that He made man in Genesis and said, it repenteth me that I make man. I'm going to destroy all men. But He found Noah. He found righteousness. But God was grieved at his heart. God shows that He has a human side. When God made man, how did He make him? He made him in His image and in His likeness. His image and His likeness. And he determined that he was going to go ahead. He was going to destroy the earth. But after he found Noah, he determined not to destroy the earth. And then he did some things that were paraphrased. In chapter 6 and verse 7, let's see what it says. In 6 and 7 he says, and the Lord said, I will destroy man, whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping things, and the fowls of the air. For it repenteth me that I have made them. Because the devil came in, and God had made them, and all that did not go in the ark perished. All mankind, all animal kind, all the bugs and the thing, everything perished that did not go in to the ark, except the fishes of the sea that stayed in the water. And Noah could, of course, not take those on the ark, or they would have drowned. To take a fish out of water, he drowns in the air. To put us in the water, we drowned in the water. Just the opposite. And so a fellowship with men. God wanted to fellowship with men. Let's look at verse 9. It said, these are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man, perfect in his generation. Noah walked with God. God fellowshiped with Noah. Isn't that something? Came from heaven, fellowship with Noah. In verse 12, it said, God looked. Hey, in verse 12, he looked. And God looked upon the earth. And behold, it was corrupt. For all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. Wow. The corruption of the earth. God, he made a discovery. 6 and 5. Let's see what could God possibly discover? And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thought of his heart was only evil continually. Wow. Are we not close to that day again? Are we not within hairbreadths of being totally evil continually? There is nothing. You can't even turn to the so-called religious channel on TV and find preachers that aren't corrupt. The preachers on the channels today, majority are corrupt. Do you know of one that isn't? Not right offhand. Not right offhand, I don't. There are a couple that I have seen that I believe perhaps are innocent from filthy lucre. Even now, though, they're larger than life, wear suits that are more expensive than the people sitting in their pews, drive cars that are more expensive than anybody else on the earth, live in mansions that would say, this earth is my home, when God said, if you're saved, this earth is not your home. When Jesus called disciples, he called them away from home. He called them away from the abode. Called them into a place. So we see he looked, made this discovery, and then he commanded. Let's see what he commanded. He commanded, 6 and 14 was where he commanded. Make an ark of gopher wood. He commanded Noah to make this ark. And Noah said, yes, Lord, I'll get right at it. It took him 125 years to build this ark. 3 stories high, 625 feet long, 104 feet wide, and 62.5 feet tall. And he built this ark. He pitched it within without, as God said, so it would float. My time's come and gone. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Brother Peter with tidbits from